A brief case study on Katrina Leung, a Chinese-American alleged double agent. Born in 1954 in the People's Republic of China, Katrina Leung immigrated to the United States in 1970 and became a permanent resident of the U.S. in 1972. She attended Cornell University for her bachelor's degree and the University of Chicago for her master's. Her career with the FBI. In 1969, Bill Cleveland begins working for the FBI, and in 1970, James J. Smith begins working for the FBI. James is assigned to the Foreign Counterintelligence Squad focused on the People's Republic of China, where Katrina ends up working in the 1970s after she is recruited from the University of Chicago, where she was going to school. During the famous Tiger Trap investigation, Katrina takes on the code name of the Parlor Maid. She becomes one of Bill Cleveland's sources when he is chosen to head up the investigation. In 1982 and 1983, James formally recommends to the Bureau that they use Katrina Leung as an asset to obtain information about China. It is around this time that Leung begins an intimate relationship with Smith. Katrina Leung's career as an asset. As many people know, China is one of the major adversaries of the United States in the modern era of counterintelligence operations. And although Katrina Leung was paid considerably less from China, she obtained $1.7 million from the FBI over her career. She was using the codename Parlor Maid and was an alleged double agent for the Chinese. She used her relationship with James J. Smith to gain access to classified documents, many times photocopying them and then providing details to Chinese officials. This relationship with James went unnoticed for 20 years, and she was able to duplicate information, all of the documents, without being detected. When James Smith learned in 1991 that Katrina was providing information to the Chinese government, he continued to let it go on for another 9 years. FBI agents told James to handle the situation, and he claimed that it was under control. Looking back at the Katrina Leung case, there were some red flags. In early 1980, Leung moved to Los Angeles, where she lived in an apartment building that the FBI characterized as a place that had many individuals living under investigation for spy-like activities. This was noted, but then overlooked during the recruitment process of Leung. As early as 1987, senior officials at the FBI had heard Leung had unauthorized contact through speech and meetings with Chinese officials. And in 1991, FBI officials became aware that Leung was using an alias to communicate with the Chinese. All were overlooked, but eventually there was a downfall. Leung initially came under scrutiny of the FBI for her possible involvement in the illegal transfer of technology. But in 1981, the LA field office began a full investigation on the activities of Katrina. Leung had also become the lover of her other handler, Cleveland, and this led to her downfall because while he was listening to intercepted messages in the early 90s, he was able to pick out her voice, and then he turned her in. But her handler was, of course, James Smith, and he brushed it under the rug. It wasn't until after Smith retired that other agents continued to investigate Katrina. All three suspects were indicted: Cleveland, Smith, and Leung. Their current statuses, though? Well, Cleveland passed a polygraph test and is cooperating with the FBI. There had been no evidence that he let any government secrets slip, and so he's not been charged. He apologized to his family, and they believe he's guilty of wrong judgment, but not of leaking secrets. Smith, he pled guilty to lying about his affairs with the Leung. He told them that he had not had any explicit contacts with her. And a part of the plea deal was that other charges being held against him had been dropped. He avoided prison time and was sentenced to 3 months of house arrest and 100 hours of community service. And when everything was said and done, Katrina Leung pled guilty to just tax violations. Her other criminal charges were dismissed 2 years later by the U.S. Attorney's Office. They didn't charge her with espionage because they could not prove that she had passed the documents to China. Throughout the trial, she ended up spending 3 months in jail, 18 months in home detention, but her plea deal worked out to be 3 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and a $10,000 fine. This has had some profound effects on the way that the FBI handles recruitments and their affairs. They now use polygraph testing much more frequently. Even though Leung passed polygraphs, officials prove that they can strengthen the FBI. The FBI now also has stricter limits on how long a single agent can handle the same recruitment.